Well, first of all, I would like to thank you all for being here. I think it's a great opportunity to talk about this territory. As I was telling Colin before, I am sure that nature, and in this particular case, birds, connect us and are a great way of learning and a great way of understanding nature where we come from as well. So first of all, I would like to share with you some facts about this country. These are fast facts of Colombia. Here you can see it with a red boundary on the map. In the north, you can see Vancouver, North America, Central America, South America. So Colombia is nicknamed as well as the gateway to South America because it sits in the northwestern part of the continent where South America connects with Central and North America. And it has a privileged location. You will see why throughout the presentation. And I want to point out some elements, interesting elements that you can see on the image. Well, first of all, you can see it has the two oceans, the Pacific and the Caribbean coasts. It's the only country in South America that has that position. As well, there is this ITCZ, or called the Intertropical Convergence Zone. For the ones that don't know, is the area where, I'm going to try to show it here with my pointer, let's say, hot waves and cold air and hot air comes from the north of the tropic and from the south of the tropic, and they let's say get together in the middle, and that's like what we see, this line that we see here. So it is throughout the ocean, and it gets into the inland of the continent as well, so it's affecting straightly directly the Colombian territory. And then we have the influence of the winds that come from this area and from the other side of the country, let's say from both oceans as well. I'm gonna show you here this, I'm gonna show you this, share with you this website where you can see in current time how the air and the wind flows. And as you can see, let's say this is the Colombian territory here in this area here. Do you see my pointer? Probably no. So you can see how the air comes from the north and how it comes, like, let's say, through the Caribbean area and through the Pacific area. And if I go closer, we will see the air that flows in different directions that obey to the geography of the country. Just gonna leave it for a while there so you can kind of understand. And this is going to be very important to understand a little about the variety of ecosystems. So, let's say that the geology in Colombia is a result of the movement of the Nazca, the South American, and the Caribbean and Cocos tectonic plates. And as a very relevant result, we find the Andes region, which is what we see here. These are the mountains, the Andes formation that comes all the way from the south of South America to the north of South America, which is Colombia. We find this Andes region is organized from north to south, this Andes mountain range. And in the south of the Colombian Andes, in this area here, we find what we call the Colombian Massif. And it is a knot, it's a great knot that continues northward, but it's separating the Andes into three incredible different mountain ranges: the western, the central, and the eastern branches, or the eastern mountain ranges of the Andes. So between the Andes, between these three mountain ranges, we have the main inter-Andean rivers, which are the Cauca and the Magdalena rivers. And these two probably with no doubt, let's say two of the most important rivers of the country. These rivers, mainly the Magdalena, was used as a highway in pre-Columbian times and during the conquest for exploring the area and transporting the goods and exploring the natural resources, exploiting the natural resources. Actually, nowadays is as well, let's say, one of the main highways of the country. The Colombian mainland is highly complex. It's a highly complex system that features great weaving of topography and geographic processes throughout time. So it's not just like mountains and all the mountains are the same. It's very complex and unique. Each side of each mountain range is completely different, and the geography is completely unique. So it's important to point out the presence of other sierras, what we call sierras or serranías, that are not, let's say, related geologically or are not part of the Andean mountain range. So they are separated or geologically different. Let's say we have, for example, Santa Marta Mountains, and there are many in the country, you know, throughout the different areas of the country, in the north, in the Pacific area, in the south. And again, very important to note that they are not part of the Andean mountain range. Like, they are not originated by the movement of the tectonic plates. They have other origins. Additionally to that, and the two oceans that I just mentioned before, we have in the, let's say, western side of the Andes, we have what we call the llanos. The llanos is a floodable savanna and grasslands that take place in this area that I'm showing here. And in the south region of the llanos, we have the Amazon. So of course, there is a transition between the llanos and the Amazon. And there is a transition between the Andes and the llanos, and the Andes and the Amazon. when I say the transition, there are, of course, cliffs, but there are, of course, foothills. And again, all this is very complex to understand. Let's say we can take forever here to try to understand. So in this slide that I'm showing here, we can appreciate that Colombia has altitudes from the 0 meters above sea level all the way to 5,689 meters above sea level. That's around 18,500, almost a little more feet of elevation. And that high elevation takes place in Pico Bolívar, that is located in the Sierra Nevada Santa Marta, which is the highest coastal peak on Earth. And this is the place where the highest endemic concentration of endemic birds on Earth takes place. So about the climate, let's say that climate is a result of the geological location, and in tropical countries, specifically, it's, let's say, very special how climate changes due to the location. So basically, what we have is that there is a great abundance of ecosystems, because as we ascend or descend in altitude, even if it is some meters, we will find different habitats. And these habitats are, like, let's say, are the space for new niches to come. And in the last centuries, or let's say in the last time, evolution has been very, very fast, because new species have used these spaces to stay alive. And that's why, if you, let's say, if you cross all these, mix all these things together, climate is gonna change always, and there's always gonna be new ways of life in these kind of territories. So in this next slide, I just wanna show you, let's say, this one is the rainfall in the country. So we have from desertic areas in the north, which is Guajira, almost no rain, in other areas into the Andes region, with almost very few rain or no rain at all. And on the other side, you have, on the other hand, you have very humid areas like the Pacific region, which is the rainiest area of the world. So at the same time, well, we see here, for example, let's say green is, let's say, medium rain. We have llanos. We have almost part of the depression of the Momposino Depression, and high rain in the Pacific and the Amazon region. One thing is rain, and the other thing is humidity, because this is showing rain, not necessarily humidity. And the other one is the climate. As I told you, climate changes with elevation. So the high areas like like Pico Bolivar that we already talked about, like in the Santa Marta Mountains and the three mountain ranges, this would be very cold in the upper part. And as you go down, the temperature will increase. So typically we divide the country in 5 regions, let's say. The Caribbean area or Caribbean region that is in the north. As I mentioned, there's a dry, very dry area which is the Guajira Peninsula, and it's mainly dry because of the way that the wind comes from the north. You saw it, like if there's no vegetation, the wind goes and takes all the humidity and will just like pass through. And in the Caribbean area as well, there are some areas, very humid areas, like part of the Santa Marta Mountains. And we have as well the Chocó region, which is very exuberant in vegetation, incredibly diverse. It has great jungles, and it comes straight from the, let's say, from the sea to the mountain. So the humidity will crash to the mountain and that's why probably the part of the reason why it's so humid in that area. And we have the Andean region that we already talked about it. It's the 3 mountain ranges with all these inter-Andean valleys. And this one is one of the most diverse, but as well the most fragmented, and the biggest part of the population is in that area. I mean, like the human population would be in that area. Then we have Llanos or Orinoquia region, and this is foothills and savannas. Some of them have like, let's say, seasonal floods, so are floodable savannas. And then we have the transition to the Amazon region and the Amazon region that is in the south. But again, all these regions, well, like additionally to that, we have islands in both oceans, let's say. And so in all these regions, we have, like, we could break it a lot. I mean, like, these are very broad regions, like very big groups of ecosystems that are inside those regions. And it's, let's say, like the easiest way to understand the dynamic of the biology and the geology of the country. But we could like break it into pieces and never end. To understand more about like the bird dynamic and using these regions, it's interesting as well to understand that part of the south of the country, we have the Guianian shield. The Guianian shield is an older shield. And birds that are in the Guianian shield are probably older in evolution, or let's say that are different than what we have in the other side, on the other part of the country. So that's why I said 5 regions, but let's say for bird watchers or for birders, we can talk about 7 regions. We can talk about the Guajira Peninsula, the Caribbean area, the islands, the Pacific region, Andean, Orinoco, Amazonas, and we can talk about the white sands soils of the Guianan Shield. In these two maps, the first one, well, these maps these two are taken from a book that is called The Endemic Butterflies of Colombia. And in these maps, we are gonna find elevation in this first one, so you can understand like kind of a little more, and get that the other one is the protected areas of the country. So we have protected areas. Some of them are private, others are public, and they are almost all over the country, in different areas of the country. Some of them are very difficult to access, others are easier. Some of them you need special permissions, others are, like, let's say, more open to visitors. So what about the birds in Colombia? Let's say this is like, first of all, I would say like Colombia's political boundary could hardly have been better positioned to encompass a greater biodiversity. We have, these are the numbers that the Ornithological Registry Committee of Colombia has today, which is 1,000, or let's say 1,966 bird species registered for Colombia so far. These numbers, 1,672 are residents. We have 140 migratory. And in this point, it's important to say that we have migration, boreal migration from the north. The boreal migrations, the boreal migrants come, some of them come from here, from the, let's say, the far north. Others can come as well, or can travel from Central America. There's smaller migrations. We have austral migrations as well from the south. So in the northern areas, we have great places where the northern migrant will come, and some of them will stay. Others will cross the country and get to the south. From the south, some of them will get to the Amazon Llanos and the Colombian Massif. And we have as well migrations that, well, I was saying about telling about the migrations from Central America, but as well intertropical migrants from other parts of the tropics. And these would be, well, these ones actually are the less researched or understood, sorry. And we have 84 endemics and one extinct bird. This map is a map that we developed with Eric Lush, which is a friend of mine, that he is a great artist and bird watcher. This map tries to show the diversity of the birds of the country and how they are organized in these different regions. So I was wondering how to organize the pictures. And it was very hard because probably for the ones that have traveled to Colombia, they were sharing. It's so hard. I mean, like, if you move, let's say, 20 meters in elevation, the habitat will change completely. If you go from one mountain range to the other, what you will have is speciation, and that's why birds are so diverse, because we have, let's say, we have the uh, blue and gray blue and gray tanager. And the blue and gray tanager is the subspecies of the Eastern Mountain Range and the subspecies of the Western Mountain Range. And this is like, it happens with lots of birds. So what I decided to do is I'm just gonna go through some pictures, and I'm gonna share with you, like, kind of in a fast way, where are we located, and let's say if there's something interesting about the bird, I will try to point it out. So we'll start with this one. This is a white cap tanager. This bird is very special because they are always moving. They are always migrating. They don't have a spot where they live. If you go today, they will stay there, they will be there, but then the next day they're not there. So you can go to a place and try to find this bird, and probably you won't see it where you saw it before. And the other thing that is very special about this bird is that they are only in the higher part of the canopy. So you will very difficult to see. It's very, very difficult to see. I'm going to share just some things in general here. Here we are in the Paramo area. Paramo is the highest elevation ecosystem with vegetation. We are looking for an ant pita, that is honey ant pita, in the upper part of the Paramo. This is Central Mountain Range. This is Buffy helmet crest. Is a very special hummingbird from high elevation areas. We have 3 endemic species, each species from a different area of the, well, we have 2 in the Andes, 1 in the central and 1 in the western Andes, just in the upper parts. And this one is the one in the central Andes. We have another one in the Santa Marta Mountains, and there is a 4th one, which is as well endemic from Venezuela. So there are 4 in total. This is in the inter-Andean valley from the Magdalena Valley, let's say. This particular spot here is very old, and the vegetation, there has been explorations of the vegetation in this area, and the vegetation is shared between the Amazon region. So you find species from the Amazon region and species from the Chocó region. So it's very special because apparently this spot here, this part here, could be like from before of when the Andean mountain range emerged. So it's very, very, very old, very special. So I'm gonna share with you this so you can kind of see how it is. So while we're birding, we use a lot the roads in Colombia to go birding because vegetation is so closed and so hard that the best way to see birds is probably through the roads. This photo here is just a road where this bus goes once a day from one town to the other. And I just wanted to share with you this image. One of the hard things of birding in Colombia is that everything is very high. At the end, you end with neck ache. You can get used to it, but the thing with light and it's very different than birding here. Lots of birds will use the canopy and you will very difficult to see. So you would need to find the perfect spot for you to see the canopy in front. This picture here this is a video. It's from the Central Mountain Range traveling to Amazon jungle. And here you see amazing canopy of kilometers and kilometers of amazing vegetation. Just gonna try to, yeah, no sound now. So just we have explored just a part of the country. So there are new species popping out, and there are lots of new areas that have been developed in the last 10 years. Every year we have new registers, new places to go. This is particularly in the Amazon jungle, where some of the floodable areas, and with the humidity and with the water, everything moves. So we have dark water areas, or yeah, we call it dark water areas because of the concentration of tannins of all the nutrients that and organic matter that the vegetation has. And there are some specific birds that will use these areas rather than others. This is one of the places where we go birding, and it's amazing how you find all these diversity. I'm gonna move fast because there are lots of pictures that I want to show, but this area specifically is a lake that is called Tarapoto Lake, where we find different birds that are, some of them are common to you, like neotropical cormorants. This one is the Pacific region, the mountains of the Pacific region. And from certain points, you can see how the humidity and all the clouds come from the Pacific Ocean. Snowy egrets. Well, this is from these birds, especially, you can find them in different areas of the country as well, in the coast, Caribbean coast. You can find them in the floodable areas. You can find them in the Amazon jungle. You have here some of the birds of the Andean mountain range, and this one is the torrent duck that is very special because it's probably the duck that we always see in clean water rivers of yeah, this area here is one of the, this is, let's say, probably the typical view that we have in the central or western mountain range. But here in this picture, you can see how cattling has taken over part of the ecosystem. So one of the biggest problems that we have for conservation in the country, in Colombia, is the loss of habitat. And probably here in this picture, you can see how special is the geography. So if, let's say, if you move from one mountain to the other, everything will change. And very specific birds or nature will be in the area. Let's see if, yeah. Okay, this mountain wood creeper is very interesting how it moves around the vegetation, searching for small animals and insects. They just look through the very small vegetation and they, let's say that they cover the low and medium part of the vegetation, right? Like the low and medium, how would you say, like section, right, of the vegetation. One of the very special things that happen in Colombia is that you have sometimes mixed flocks, and on a mixed flock, you can have probably 40 different species, sometimes more. And some of these species, since they are very specialized, higher canopy, others will go in the medium, other will just crawl into the ground. And so it's the whole, the whole profile, the whole part will move, and birds will make groups. And in that way, they can kind of open new routes for them to keep alive, right? So some of them move like that, and they're all throughout the year moving like that. Others can stay in a place and will, let's say, have a nest like every year in the same spot, and will specialize in a certain spot, and they will be living in that spot. But others will have another completely different strategy, like moving throughout the day and staying in another spot and just moving around all throughout the year. So this is one of the ways that we explore the area, just like moving on the cars. And when we see something, we just stop and wait, because some of the birds will come to you. They will just cross. They are looking for fruits, looking for food, and they will just cross from one side to the other on the road, and they will continue. But that's the moment where you can be able to see as much as possible. So that's like, yeah, this is one of the, so this video.
Rene, I don't know if there's enough bandwidth to play the video.
Yeah, probably not.
Just you for a little bit.
Yeah, oh, I'm not gonna use it. I'm not gonna play it. Sorry, but basically, what I was gonna show was um, like a local migration in a place in the south of the country. There are many places where you can see this, but there's a place in the south of the country that is the town, let's say the park of Leticia, which is the capital city of Amazonas. Every day from around 4 to 6, you will see thousands of this is purple martin, blue-white martin, and probably tui parakeet. They come together. There are thousands of them. So they maybe they are not like always together, but they they catch throughout the day. They catch up throughout the day, and they get together to come to this point, and they use it as a strategy because there are raptors around, and if you go on your own, you will probably be catched by a raptor. But if you are thousands, the raptor will probably not catch you, probably will catch another one. So every day around 5 or yeah, around 5 in the sunset, you will see thousands of these species that arrive to the trees of the park. And very early in the morning, the next day, they will depart. They will start their journey just throughout the area. This is a spotted toddy tyrant, very specialized bird that is like, yeah, this guy is searching mainly for insects and sometimes some fruits, but mainly insects. This is Amazonas, all these birds that I'm showing here. This is chestnut-bellied grassquit, I think it's called. So again, you know, like here, the strategy for us to go birding is like using the areas where you are able to see when they are in the boundary of the vegetation. Because if you go into the vegetation, you will barely see something, very difficult to see. These are smooth-billed anis. They congregate together. They are always together. I'm gonna move faster because I have lots of pictures to share. In these floodable areas, this is the Amazon. When the water, like let's say when we are in dry season, there are some islands that will pop, and there are some shores that will be like, let's say, like a stational shores, and there is vegetation that is growing, and that will last for 4 or 6 months. So some birds that are specialized will arrive there. Some sandpipers, for example, we see spotted sandpiper there. We can see horneros as well. Inside the vegetation, in the boundary, or let's say from the boundary to the deep vegetation, we have birds that are more like into the jungle. Well, this one here is from the Andes, and we are getting to the upper part of the central mountain range, the western mountain range, sorry. This is white-bellied hummingbird. This is one of the smallest hummingbirds that we have, crested caracaras. And one of the things that has happened with the change of the temperature in the country is that like usually we used to see some of the birds in one part and they will be always there. Nowadays they are moving, and birds that you used to see in the lower areas are going to the upper areas. This one is an endemic bird from the Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta. We have here a view of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, which is as I told you, it's a formation that it's separated from the Andean mountain range. So this is what we call Santa Marta Mountains. And I am this picture was taken from the San Lorenzo Ridge, which is a very high elevation road. And from here you can see from one side the Santa Marta Mountains, and in the other side you can see the coast, the Caribbean coast. So you are, I guess this is around, it's higher than 3,000 meters. It could be around 4,000 meters in elevation. This is the Santa Marta peaks, like the Pico Colón. And in the upper part of these mountains, going to the Páramo, like you need to walk at least 3-4 days to get to the upper part where the helmet crest, the endemic helmet crest of the Santa Marta Mountains will be there. This is Santa Marta warbler, this one. Just endemic from that Santa Marta Mountains section. Lorophonias, blue napped lorophonias in Santa Marta Mountains as well. And this is a thrush that is a near endemic for Colombia and Venezuela. And it's located just in the upper part of Santa Marta. So there's another thing that is interesting, and it's what I shared before, is that you have, let's say that few years we have, let's say, discovered that, for example, some of the high mountains that are in the Pacific region, I mean, like, let's say in the Pacific region, there are some mountains like Tacarcuna. And this place here was never being birded. Nobody used to go birding up there. So people just go birding in the area where people were moving. But going up to the mountain was like 4 days walking, or, you know, like there's no road there. So nobody used to go there. And a few years ago, somebody just decided to go and made an expedition and realized that there were new birds like for the area. Not new species, but new birds for that area, for that region. So nowadays, let's say that new places have been discovered for birding. And we used to see very in one dimension, let's say, but birds move around and they go up and down, you know, in elevation. And some of them that are not interested in low elevations, they will just go from one mountain. They will probably fly hundreds of kilometers to the next high elevation area. And in that way, new discoveries for science have been done. This bird here is flycatcher that is related to cliffs, and it's only in the Paramo area. So, for example, there is a Paramo that everybody goes and visits for the helmet crest, but we used to go straight and just like pass through the rocky part. We never just stopped before seeing, and in the last years we realized that this one was there. This is rainbow birded hummingbird as well, from high elevation paramos and subparamos. This is red ruffed fruit crow, a cotinga bird from the cotinga group. This is marbled faced flycatcher, Hui parakeets. This guy here is long-billed spine-tail, and it grabs, again, very specialized in eating insects inside the termite hives. I don't know how you say it, probably hives, but into the very specific insects. This one here is not a hummingbird. So this one is, I forgot the but well, I'll give it to you later. So we have different strategies for nesting. This is what the gulungos will do. They make, we call them mochileros. They make these kind of nests that are hanging. We have, so hummers, the Colombia has around 170 different species of hummingbirds, and hummingbirds is one of the groups that is very interesting in speciation, because they, let's say, don't get together, because it's very hard from one mountain to the other for a hummingbird to cross. So that's why speciation is so high in hummingbirds. You see it?
Yes, beautiful picture.
These are redstarts, golden-fronted redstart. Again, this is one of the species, for example, that we had. We have a subspecies from the eastern, we have a subspecies from the central and western, and eventually they will be two different species. You know, like this is gonna happen for sure, because they don't touch. I mean, like there's no exchange, like DNA exchange, so they will. Whistling dogs. This is a typical view of the Colombian Massif, and from there to the north, the three mountain ranges, and it's like a highway where you, if you are a bird, you could easily go from one side to the other. The thing is that not all of the birds will cross that part. Some of the birds will just stay in the area where they are. We have, this one is yellow-backed oriole. Orioles is, for example, one of the birds that make the nests like hanging from the trees, like the same strategy we saw, and they will use the same tree over and over. So these ones, for example, this specific group is not necessarily moving around in a flock, you know, like in a, let's say in a mixed flock. So some species will build mixed flocks and move around in mixed flocks to be more strong, to be like stronger, let's say if there is a predator. But this one, for example, could be the predator. So these ones will stay in the area, right? This is Cranioleuca erythrops. This is red-faced spinetail. This species is one of the typical species that are in mixed flocks. This is an endemic red-bellied grackle. It's from the same group of yellow-backed oriole, and they as well make nests, hanging nests. We have blue-winged teals as birds that will come from the north. This Andean motmot, very typical from the Andean area. This is cattle tyrant. And they will all have their own, let's say, strategies to survive. So as I told you, they are very specialized. This one is laughing falcon. I don't know if should I play a video or not. It's just like we'll see better this picture. This is the laughing falcon. It was just eating a snake that you see in the right side. And pitas. This is Gralaricula nana. And pitas are birds very difficult to see. They are just in the inside of the deep vegetation. Some of them fly, some don't, some others don't. But in the last years, the first time somebody started feeding gralarias was and pitas was in Ecuador. I think in Mindo probably. And in Colombia, we started feeding pitas probably 6-7 years ago. And nowadays you are able to see a great variety of pitas in the country, like birds that you could never see, always like listen to them, but never see. This is another antpita. This is, well, we had the Rufus antpita. That was a species that was in the Ecuador and Colombia, and in the last probably 1.5 years, 2 years ago, they split it into, I think it's 7 different species. This one is Chami antpita. That's the name that it has. It's from the north central mountain range, northeastern mountain range. Bicolor antpita. This video is from an area that is in the south. It's in the jungle, but it's in the south of the country. It's like south of the Colombian Massif. And from there you can see some birds that are in the Choco area, and some birds that are as well in the Andes, and some birds that are as well in the Amazon. It's a very special area. Manakins, you have different species. This is the harpy eagle. It's a baby of harpy eagle. This one was taken in the Pacific region. In Colombia, we have probably three reports of active nests of harpy eagle, three that I know. One in the Pacific region, this one in the Pacific region. This picture was taken probably 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, 2 years ago. And there's another one in the Llanos as well, in the north as well. There's another one. This is Chocotrogon. These birds are from Choco area. This is Humboldt's hummingbird. This video, I'm not gonna share it because it's too heavy, but it shows the vegetation. This is a drone, so this is the vegetation, and the drone is over the sea. So there are just like few meters, let's say, from the water to the jungle, straight jungle, like lots of, yeah, it's very hard to get inside. So that's like the typical landscape of the Choco area. This is one of the piculets that we have, very small woodpecker. Flycatchers, toddy tyrants. Try to move a little faster. Barbets, this is red-headed barbet, the male and the female. This is the female. Okay, this is endemic chachalaca. Gray-breasted mountain toucan, velvet breast, hummingbird. This is Paramo area of the Central Mountain Range. And this here is ocellated tapaculo. This is a video that would be great to see. Do you think we can try? Okay, let's try. This is ocellated tapaculo, is amazing, amazing bird. The humidity from the morning, and he is eating some worms there. Ocellated tapaculo is one of the birds like everyone wants to take pictures of. This is the bird. This is the ocellated tapaculo. These birds, you know, like they are in different areas. We can, let's say, listen to them. You can hear the call, but you would never be able to see them. So the way that we do this is always living every day, almost every day, at the same time, leaving food in the same spot. This is what the mountains that are in front is the highest elevation area of the Eastern Mountain Range. So behind those mountains is the Pacific region. It's so the humidity from the Pacific region will cross to this side. And this is Montezuma. Montezuma is a very interesting road for birding that is located in a national natural park called Tatama. Banksia is this is a ringed tanager. This is one of the endemic Banksias that we have. This is Andean pygmy owl, grass green tanager. Grass green tanager as well is one of the birds that you have to be high altitude in the high elevation in the canopy to see it. So in the cliffs, it's possible to see that bird, like being like waiting for the flock to come, right? You can wait the whole day to see the flock, to wait for the flock. Scrub tanager as well, toddy flycatcher, common toddy flycatcher. This one is the hoatzin from low elevations, Amazon, and as well, you can find it in llanos. This is the screamer. So I'm gonna show this. This is something I wanna share with you. This is a friend of mine that is called Martin. Martin he lives in the high elevation area of Eastern Mountain Range, close to a town called Jardín. So from Jardín to his house is at least 2 hours by car. And where they were living, where they are living, or the place where they live, like, is a place where everybody wants to tear all the vegetation down to put some, like, to place cattle there. And probably 3 years ago, they like decided, well, he is a birder, but he's like a peasant, you know, like, so for him it's very hard to buy binoculars or a camera. And we showed him the possibility of starting a business, or you know, like feeding the anpitas that you have there. So nowadays, after 4 years probably of feeding every day the anpita, he can do this, which is like amazing. So I think bird watching in Colombia has been very special because it has united lots of people. Bay-headed tanager, this one, chestnut crested anpita. This is club-wing manakin. Club-wing manakin, you can find it because of the sound they do with their wings when they touch their wings to one to the other. This is a very small bird. Probably it has like less than probably 5 centimeters big. And they are in the upper part of the canopy, but they just like move around in a branch. And they have a leg. You have to look for the leg. Once you find the leg, you can see them. This is a male displaying. So a female will come and choose the male that they want. Crop tanager, blue-gray tanager, big-billed euphonia, lineated woodpeckers, blue-winged tanager, hooded rocket tail. This one is the female of flame rump tanager, and flame rump tanager in the eastern mountain range. If you go from the north to the south, the colors start changing, and they are subspecies, or let's say a different phenotype that is lemon color. So male is red in the back, in the rump, and female is like this, but there's lemon color, which is lemon rumped, and that would be probably a subspecies, and probably then it probably would be a different species as well. This is a endemic quail, multicolored tanager. It's one of the very everyone wants to see this bird. This is as well very high in the canopy. You can listen to them, but you will never see them. So this picture, for example, hours of waiting. All these small birds here, these are from particular areas of the low elevation areas of the Pacific. This is more into the mountain range. This one, you know, summer tanager, probably. Summer tanager is one of the migrants that we have. Golden tanager. Little tinamu. This blackbird is as well just from the center of the Central Mountain Range, close to Bogota. Probably the person that went to Bogota birding saw it. And this is as well endemic subspecies of blackbird. Chestnut flower piercer, endemic from the high altitude of Eastern Mountain Range. You can see it in Tatama National Natural Park. Crescent-faced unpitted as well, just like discovered. Well, the bird was discovered before, but the spot was discovered probably 5 years ago. Scarlet-bellied mountain tanager was from the high elevation Paramo, subparamo area. Long-tailed sylph. This one from like Pacific region, and is Colombia and Ecuador. Toucan barbet. Andean cock of the rock, probably you have listened or seen. This bird is very special in Colombia. There is like 2 subspecies. This one particular is from the eastern side, and the color of this bird is red, very strong red. It's like lots of people would like to have a picture of this bird. If you go to Bogota area, which is the Western Mountain Range, you won't see this bird with that color. The bird would be more orangey rather than red. The color tanager, blue-winged tanager. I think this is my last picture. And this is one of the migrants that we have. Some of them are probably migrating in the tropics. You can see them in different areas of the country, different moments of the year. So yeah, this is my last picture, and I think, well, it's 9 o'clock. I don't know if there are some questions. I could, like, share more and more pictures. But I would like to know I don't know if people want to share their thoughts, or there are some questions, or
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Well, Rene, it was great to visit Colombia with all those pictures. I recognized a lot of those birds. Some I didn't, because I didn't cover some of the areas that you're showing them from. But if anybody wants a great birding trip, Colombia is certainly it.
Yeah, the
Thank you.
colors of the birds are so amazing. It's like an artist painted them. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And you mentioned your friend was in Yardine. I spent a couple of nights there, and it's quite a nice little town.
Yeah.
Very, very special town.
Yeah, so you saw the cock of the rock, right? The
Yes,
antler of the rock.
yes, we saw the cock of the rock there, yes.
Thanks, Rene. That was really beautiful, very informative. Your photography is incredible. We've been to Panama, and not specifically for a birding trip, but we did do some birding, I guess, while we were there. And I know some of them are similar species, maybe, or some overlaps, but yeah, it sure brought back some memories of beautiful, colorful birds. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rene. It was fantastico. Una pregunta. Since the cessation of activity of the war with FARC, I've read that a lot of the bird habitat is now being entered by people, and forests are being cleared, etc. And this has negative consequences for birds. And I was wondering what the current situation is with that in terms of loss of bird habitat since the wars have ceased, or some of them have ceased.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question. I want to share with you something like happened to me. I started exploring my country, well, Colombia, probably when I was 14 years old. And in that time, I was one of the only ones that were, exploring. And there is a place that is the Cocuy National Natural Park, which is located in the upper part of the Eastern Mountain Range. And I always visited this park from the eastern side. So no, in the Western Mountain Range, I always visited from the eastern side. 3 years ago, probably, maybe a little more, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I was sent there to explore the area for birding with other colleagues. And we were the first ones, like, exploring there. They paid us the expenses to go there, and the local people were there. Some of them were, like, birders, local birders, and that was the first time after more than 20 years when I could see the Cocuy National Park from the other side. And that was quite an experience. So there are many places that are new for explorations, new for science as well. So new reports are coming, new birds have been discovered, new areas have been opened for birding and for exploration and for science, and for conservation as well. In the other hand, other areas that were never opened nowadays are opened, and people, you know, like places where people were in war or they couldn't be free, let's say, doing whatever they wanted. Nowadays, they are looking for a way to survive, and cattling is one of the ways. Um, Sadly, people will try to tear down the vegetation to place probably 20 cows, and that's the way they would make a living. But tourism is, let's say, well, tourism is a big industry, and let's say the traditional tourism is probably not the best way of making sustainable tourism. But bird watching and, let's say, in general, nature watching or nature explorations, you know, going into the wilderness searching for frogs, for endemic poisonous frogs, or for 10 days, and working with the locals and learning from them, and they will learn from science. And this has been in the last years growing and growing more. And I would say many locals are open to this because they would love to conserve, to look like to help in conservation. The only problem is that there's no, let's say that's not a way for surviving. If there is somebody that paid you to conserve, then that person will do conservation. So that's, let's say, and I'm sharing you here with you here, like that's my project basically. I started working as a researcher. I realized that research is great. I love research, and actually sometimes I do participate in research, but in a practical way, let's say, sustainable tourism is something that everyone needs, because tourism is a great way to learn and share, and if it's on a sustainable way. And nowadays, you know, like locals are very interested in learning, in knowing about the dynamics of birds and in general of nature. There are many companies that nowadays are selling birding trips. Some of them are more experienced than others. Some of them are, you know, like when this started, my company is 15 years, but this is one of the oldest ones. But almost every week there are new companies, you know. I don't know if that's good or bad, but at least it's something that is happening, and people will probably learn and help in conservation because of that. And there are, you know, like many companies work with birds, but in my case particularly, we have different types of trips, let's say. So we have different types of people, local people that are working every day in conservation in their places.
Muchas gracias.
Michael, thank you. Yes, Don.
Rene, I've got a question about the government. If they're, first of all, is the bird tourism, has it been increasing the last few years? And if so, I think that might be motivation for the government to incentivize some people to start their businesses. I mean, it's a big country, so there's lots of room for companies like yours. But I would think if the government wants to incentivize and increase the tourism coming into the country as a whole, that they might be willing to to pay some of these people like your friend with that feeds the worms to the ant PETA, pay these people to maintain, like manage certain conservation areas. Does the government show any interest in that?
I personally think we haven't get to that point yet. There are, like, the government has an office that is like developing like exportation businesses, and it's the same company, the same office that helps for other industries, let's say coffee exportation, or you know, any other exportation. And incoming tourism, I think that's called the way it's called, which means people from other countries coming to Colombia. It is exportation of services. But there is not necessarily, I mean, this office will help if you are into the business, and if they will promote, but there's nothing, we haven't get to the point where the government is interested, and then they will say, okay, so now we are stopping mining because we need these places to be cared after, because we are working in conservation, because that's what brings tourists, right? We haven't get there. So there's mining, there is, you know, like the last government was into fracking, and of course, like when I go birding, I see all these things that you know, like change. Some of these places were in a different condition before, others just change, and there is like always, you know, human moves around and tears the vegetation, but there's other places probably that grow. So it's so hard. I you know, and it's very complex.
Yeah.
But it works like that. Places where you used to no birds at all, no nature at all, and nowadays nature is getting there and it's growing, and other places that have been teared. So yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my last question would be whether there's any focus whatsoever on bird-friendly coffee plantations, Rene?
Yes, there are. I know about probably 3 or 4, and personally we have, like, my family owns property in Jardín, where Larry was, right? So we own a property there, and we are working with organic coffee production. And in Jardín, that I know, we are the only ones doing that. But in Jardín, there are other birders, like local birders, that have their coffee plantation and are friendly with birds, but they are not organic. And in the country that I know, there are at least 3 more probably that are people that are working with coffee production.
Now they're certified with Smithsonian?
Sorry?
Are they certified through this Smithsonian bird-friendly coffee certification process?
No, not really. Not
Yeah.
really. No, nobody that I know, nobody.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for this evening. This was wonderful. I'm really appreciate you offering to do this. It was absolutely fascinating.
There is Don, I think, has probably a last question. I don't know if we have more time, or I
Oh,
don't
go
know.
ahead. No, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Don here. It's super interesting what you show us, Rene, and
Thank you, Don.
it's wonderful. And I'm totally new to bird watching, but my question, and you might have, if it's a long answer, you don't really have to answer too too long, but look, there's 1,966 species registered, you said, and I presume endemic means native to the country. Is that the same thing, endemic? And why is it only 84 so low? And how do you know whether the bird is endemic or not? Is my question. Just curious.
Well, thanks for the question. So a resident will be a bird that has the whole biological cycle in the territory, which means that they grow, reproduce, and die, right, in the territory. A migrant is the one that moves from one part of the territory to another. And let's say there are migrations from Central America to South America, from North America to South America, from South to Central, and there are others like in the tropics, like from, let's say, from far Western Venezuela to Colombia, for example, or from the Llanos of Colombia, which is in the western side, to the eastern side of the country. So those are as well migrations. So an endemic bird or an endemic organism would be the organism that is located in a certain place. And I would say that endemism is related with the scale that you use. So you can say, this bird is endemic from Central America, probably in Guatemala and Mexico and Panama, but it's endemic from Central America. You can say this bird is endemic from the Caribbean coast. You can say this bird is endemic from the Western mountain range of Colombia. The thing is that when we start talking about birds and there is the boundaries, the political boundaries, the political barriers, right? Borders. Endemism becomes a thing that is located in a country. So when you open your book, when you open your guide of birds, and it says this bird is endemic of Colombia, it means that it's not in Venezuela or Ecuador or any other country, just in Colombia. When it says this is near endemic, it would be that it shares two borders. Near endemic is that it is in two countries. If it's in more than two countries, that's not near endemic anymore. That's like 3 countries, it's okay. But there are birds, for example, for instance, Cardenal Guajiro, the cardinal in the north, that is endemic from the Caribbean coast in the dry areas of or subxerophytic ecosystems or subxerophytic bushes, let's say, of the North Caribbean part. And this is endemic. But if you go and you see it through a political border view, you will find it in Venezuela and Colombia. So in your book, it's near endemic. But if you go to the biological view, it is endemic from that biological part, from that niche. It's just in that ecosystem, no more. That's it. And it's not in the south, it's not anywhere else. So that's like, I mean, like if Colombia or Venezuela would, let's say, share together conservation resources, they could do something for this bird. And I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's just curious. I'm also curious. I'm sure there's some big bird experts in the audience. compared to 1966 in Colombia, I wonder how many Canada has, for instance, for a number of comparison. Just curious. Might not have the answer here, but curious.
There aren't many that are endemic to Canada. I think the Harris's sparrow may be one of them. But
There was
a lot of
sorry.
our birds are migratory because it gets so damn cold here. They head for warmer climes.
Yeah. So it's that 1966 is including migratory birds that was registered in Colombia. I'm just wondering what many Canada would have for the same kind of category.
I don't know the number, but I can search and let you know, or probably someone in the audience will know. But there's another, like, something interesting is that Colombia has less, I think it's around 20% of the bird species list, probably,
In the world.
in the world. So it's the highest number with no doubt.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Another question from Michael here. ¿Cuál es el nombre de tu compañía?
Okay, the company is called Jaguarundi Travel. Jaguarundi is a wildcat that we have in South America, probably in Central America as well. And the company is called Jaguarundi Travel because the idea of showing this name of this wildcat, and probably I think less than 20% of the people will know that there's an animal called Jaguarundi. You know, actually in the group of biologists, many don't know that there's a mammal that's called the Jaguarundi. So people will say, oh, jaguar, right. So what does undi means, right? It's not, it's Jaguarundi. Yeah.
Oh.
So Jaguarundi, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, gracias.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, it's 9:28 now, so I guess we better let you get on to whatever evening you have left, Rene. And on behalf of Nature Vancouver, thank you very, very much. That was just wonderful. That's a lot of work to put all those photographs together and the geographic and ecological information. That's a huge amount of work. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. And we look forward to, like you said, maybe down the road, it's a big country with a lot of birds. So maybe there'll be an opportunity in a year or so to do some more, but thank you very, very much. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for everybody to everybody for coming. And yeah, it's great to share. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Selena, for
Thank
hosting
you.
very, very much as usual. So good night, everybody.
Welcome.
Stay safe.
Night.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good night. Thank you.